There we go. All right. And pop out the chat. Slide it over to this window. Scroll down there and change this to live chat. There we go. Excuse me. There we go. I think we got it all set. Hope you folks are doing well. Happy time of day to you. Let's see here. Edward Clay says, I've been on a major solo play kick of late. A lot of games like those made by Snarling Badger Studios. Do an amazing job of it. Well, that's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that. Robin says, I have hardcore started a Stargrave project. Nice. Billion Suns by Mike Hutchinson, who did Gaslands, had a solo play campaign. I did not realize that. It's kind of cool. Playing a game of 5 Parsecs Planetfall later today, hopefully. Nice. I've just started to fully embrace solo gaming as well and getting ready for a full-on campaign of 5 Leagues from the Borderland. Nice. I've started a few solo gaming. I've started to view solo gaming as a supplement rather than a replacement for regular board games. I think that's important, honestly. I do. Nearest gaming group's about an hour away, so I'm happy just making narrative stuff happen on my own. I do go to the occasional small con, though. Sure. BF Bulldog, how you doing? Sunny but cold Oklahoma. Yeah, we got sunny and cold going on here as well. We got about 3, maybe slightly, almost 4 inches of snow yesterday. So it is bright, like I said, because of the sun. That'll probably help. All right. But yeah, it's kind of got the same thing going here. It's a gloomy morning in Newark, Delaware. I'm setting up to paint some 6mm fantasy orcs while listening to chat. Nice. Good afternoon from drizzly North Wales. How you doing? Driving into chat from a grey Sussex, UK. Nice. Good morning from Cleveland. Painting a Skaven Deathmaster this morning. It says Shaven, but I'm assuming it's Skaven. Good morning from Adam and Minions from Orange County in Southern California. Painting up some Mordheim Pirates I 3D printed for Nemo. Can't wait. Nice. It's coming up in April, I believe, right? I think so. Greetings from the Netherlands. I just started up a round of Rangers of Shadowdeep at this moment. Well, there you go. See? Ekenrock, good morning. Into the Dungeons Dark from Dylan. Hello from Quebec City. Just finished up my last Vespid. Nice. Beautiful 54 degrees in Norfolk, Virginia. Nice. Fungazi, how you doing? Good morning from lovely pre-snow Washington, D.C., working on an Aegis defense line because what the heck, why not? Yeah. And I remember when those were all the rage. Like, you had to have it in your army. It was like a thing. You know, I forget what edition it was. 7th, maybe? 6th? I don't know. And then they got real hard to find, of course. Good afternoon from snowy Karlstad in Sweden. I'm painting some Bretonnian knights as proxy as steel helms in Age of Sigmar. Nice. Brian Ramba, how you doing? Good morning from Ottawa. Terrier Halo, here we go again, indeed. Nick Butler, minis on the table today are from Fenris Games Explorer range and some of their zombies. It's all about when nightmares come. Nice. Excuse me. Sending love from Pittsburgh. How you doing, Joshua? Good morning from Ohio. The weather continues to curse me in regards to both rattle can priming and 3D printing. Yeah, I can understand that. Good morning from Jonesboro, Illinois. Excuse me while I find the coffee. Coffee is important. I agree. Mike Milroy, how you doing? Snowy Western New York. Morning from AR, Kansas. Is that the Arkansas or Arkansas? Too bad we are out of pirates. Nice. Good morning from West Virginia. Happy Sunday. Good time of day from Lexington, Kentucky, starting on some OPR HDF. Nice. It's 1-page rules, Human Defense Force. Morning from Quebec. How you doing? Scroll. Okay. Not that much. Thank you. Hey there, from a suddenly warm North Carolina, just snagged a pristine box of plastic steamship troopers mobile infantry. Huh. I'm not even familiar with that. Peachy just put up a video the other day about 5 Parsecs and why he uses it for solo gaming. Good video. I don't know if that's come across my my stuff. I'll have to check that one out. I'll be seeing Peachy in the late March because evidently he's coming to Adepticon and he's part of the Army Painter Factory team now. So he'll be in the booth on and off and stuff like that. So it'll be good to see him. I haven't seen him in person for, oh gosh, since pre-pandemic. I'm pretty sure. I think we talked in Vegas at an LVO before the pandemic. Morning from Omaha. I'm finishing some Alaris Terminators. My son is finishing his Seraphon Spearhead next to me. Wholesome start to a Sunday. That does sound like a nice Sunday. Good morning from rainy Middle Tennessee. I actually got some rattle can spraying in this week today, airbrushing and building my new fire dragons. Nice. John Ashley Smith, how you doing? Checking in from snowy South Ontario. J Solo Arts, how you doing? Good morning. Hudson, Illinois. I usually keep my solo games small. My co-op games is our thing though. In general, solo gaming is something that plays with less setup and teardown. Yeah, I can understand that. Pesler the Polychromatic. Good morning from cool Saskatchewan. Indeed. Jesse, how you doing? Morning from sunny, cold Milwaukee. I don't know if you probably guys didn't get as much rain or snow as we did, but yeah, it's, I mean, it wasn't like we got a ton, but it was enough. I had to snowblow. Celebrated our son's 5th month of life and my 6th month without friends to game with. It's worth the trade-off. This is a welcome topic. Well, good to hear. Awkward shrimp. I'm primarily a solo gamer. Core Space is my main go-to. Also love 5 Parsecs and Space Station Zero. Well, that's good to hear as well. Good morning from Laredo, Texas, from Abner and Isis. It's in the 90s here. Oh goodness, yeah, no, that would be too warm for, especially like, I don't know if this is true because I'm not a doctor, but I feel like, you know, if it's winter in Wisconsin and then all of a sudden one day hits 50, you're like walking around in shorts because you're like, whoo, it's so warm. But if it's like July and it hits 50, you're like, ooh, it's so cold. And I don't know. A lot of people are like, refer to it as your blood thickening up. Like in the winter, your blood thickens up, which is probably not true because otherwise that would be bad, I would think. It would make it difficult to, like all your limbs would go numb and whatnot. But that's just kind of the term that I hear people talking about, you know. It got too cold too quickly and my blood hadn't thickened up, you know, or whatever. Because sometimes you get like a weird cold snap in like October. As a kid, I remember going trick-or-treating in snow pants once in a while. We've not had much snow around here lately. Like this snow is like the second snow that's actually covered stuff of this year. It's not been snowy up here. Whereas south of us, like, you know, people in Kansas and Arkansas and places like that have been getting like tons of snow. My friend Adam from the Army Painter lives in New Orleans, and they got 4 inches of snow where he lived. He's like, yeah, we don't do that. No one knows what to do about it. And I'm like, yeah, but we've been sitting up here not getting much snow, which is, I don't know. I think it's okay, but no one asks me. Let's see here. Happy Sunday from Madison, Wisconsin. Enjoying the weather by staying indoors and painting some ogres. Nice. Haven't tried solo gaming myself, not counting video games, but curious about the idea. It is a different kind of thing, but I find that I enjoy it because it gives me Friday's video. A lot of people in the comments were like, "Oh, I just paint, but I don't play," or "I just paint to to do it because I enjoy it, and I collect armies and stuff like that, but I generally don't play." And I think that some of those folks could be well served by doing some solo playing as well, because then you've got, at the very least, at least in my mind, it then makes like you feel like you're getting something done. Like you're like, like, oh, I got these things painted. Okay, well, I guess I'll put them on a shelf now, or I'll put them in a box, or whatever, in a foam tray. But we feel like I got these things painted. Now I can play some games with them, again, by yourself and stuff like that. I know some people just are like, no, I can't play solo games. It doesn't make sense. And that's fine too. But I think it does definitely give you a reason sometimes to paint, which I think is helpful, and build terrain and do stuff like that as well. For me, I've been getting more interested in it because I'm also trying to figure out ways to do like make content a little bit with it. So whether I want to do a full-blown battle report type thing, make it kind of a more narrative and sort of story-driven thing, or even potentially like take pictures and like tell a story through maybe a blog or something like that. Like I'm kind of starting to mess with that kind of information because I think it might be kind of interesting. The other benefit to doing solo gaming too is that you're on your own schedule. You don't have, like if you got a friend who comes over and you're going to play, you got to play when the playing is because they're there and all that kind of stuff. If you're playing solo, just like with video games, you can pause it and come back later. You know what I mean? Like, oh, geez, I got to snowblow. I got to go to the grocery store. I got to do stuff and stuff like that. And if you've got somebody else there who you're playing with, in like a regular 2-person game, you can't just like pause and tell them stand there. I'll be back in 45 minutes after I'm done clearing all the snow or whatever. It's not going to work out. So there's benefits to that too. Morning from very wet North Queensland. Well, is that good? Is that I don't know if it's a. I would assume rain is usually okay unless there's way too much of it, but not a problem. Peachy is all about the solo game options for the tabletop games, making it easier to assemble battle reports, stories, and narratives for sure. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Afternoon from a damp, cold Puckle in the UK, recovering today after King's War tournament yesterday. More Forces of Abyss for Kings while watching. Nice. I hope the King's War tournament was fun. You don't see as many King's War tournaments here in the States. I think it's much more popular over there than it is over here. Nemo is 15, 16, 17 May in Somers, Connecticut. For some reason, I thought it was April. But I knew it's not like January or whatever it was, like a couple years ago. Yeah. Nemo, for those of you who don't know, is the New England Mordheim Open. It's a big, huge event. Excuse me. A big, huge Mordheim event. Possibly, let's say it's one of the largest in the world. I know there's one that's competing with it in, I think, Italy. So, great topic choice. Thank you. I've been kit bashing figures for a new Antioch warband for Trench Crusade, as well as painting Warlord Games Judge Dredd figures. Nice. I have Judge Dredd figures that I really need to paint. But yeah, I have been working on Trench Crusade. I have a Trench Pilgrims force. I basically built the list up to 900 ducats. Ducats are basically points in this game. So if you are going to be playing a narrative campaign, then you want to build to start 700 ducats, and then you grow as the narrative campaign goes along. If you're just going to play a one-off game, then they suggest that you build up to 900 ducats, and also it's either 6 or 8, and I can't remember which off the top of my head, but it's 6 or 8 glory points. So there's basically kind of in Trench Crusade, there's like two sort of two different types of points, two different types of currency, let's say is the word I'm looking for. And so most things you buy with ducats, as far as like, soldiers, weapons, armor, equipment, etc. But there are some pieces of equipment that you can only buy with glory points. And normally, if you're playing in a campaign, you only get glory points as you progress through the campaign. But when you're playing a single play, like, a one-off, just like, hey, let's just try it out or whatever, they'll throw you some glory points so that you can kind of pick and choose and get to test out other stuff as well, like that. So I think my force is 10 models. Let's see if I can remember them all. There's a war prophet, who's the leader. She's got basically an anti-tank hammer, pretty much. And then there is a castigator who has a flail and I think maybe a pistol. There is the communicant who's got a big old giant flail that is for smacking people around, like a really big one. The communicant or the communicant's quite large. There's 2 stigmatic nuns. There's the Anchorite Shrine, which if you watched the video 2 weeks ago, you saw me painting that and doing the rust stippling and stuff like that. That guy's done. And then there's 4 Trench Pilgrims, and I think that's everything. So it's leader, castigator, communicant, 2 nuns, big shrine guy, and then 4 regular dudes. And last night I was painting the regular dudes. I was in a Discord chat with Adam from Army Painter and Heresy for Heretics over there in Australia, and Alan, who is he's a admin for the Discord for Army Painter, and we were just painting stuff. Adam's working on a bust that he's struggling with, mainly in the armpit area. Like the guy's got his arm up in this bust or whatever, and it's just evidently. That's why I don't like to paint display, because it's frustrating very frequently. But I was working on my trench pilgrims while we were talking and hanging out. Greens from sunny but cold Berlin, Germany. How did you fare last night's winter storm? I mean, we got most of our snow in the afternoon and the evening, and like I said, it was maybe 3, possibly 4 inches, but more likely like 3. So I did some snow blowing, and it was not too bad. From your previous game development experience, does it help to give the enemy AI a decision tree? Generally, we will do... I mean, we kind of do that, yes. So a lot of times it is like, if this is going on, then that. So it's a lot of if-thens. But there's also... I got the cards right here, as a matter of fact. So, like, for Death Wizards, like, you don't need to get the cards, but if you like cards, the cards are available. They're tarot sized. So, like, here's a skeleton, and it has, like, its information and stuff like that, but it has special stuff and whatever. So the skeletons are on your side, so you are driving the skeletons and whatnot. But vampire, I'm trying to get to the heroes who are not. Here we go. So here's a paladin. Okay, so this is the stats for the paladin. It's rating 2 through 4. It's a hero type. It's movement 5. Yada yada. It has a couple of special abilities, but on the back of the card, this is all the different things that it will potentially do. This is its AI, for lack of a better term. So you roll a d10. Whenever the paladin activates, it will take whatever action is rolled. If that action is impossible, the paladin will default to Shield of Faith, which is basically kind of a special kind of thing that it does. So Shield of Faith is the first thing on there. It's if you roll a 1. But if you roll a 2 through 5, it tries to smite. If it does a 6 through 8. So other games that we've done, like say Majestic 13, it's much more of a if this then that, and this one is kind of like that, but it's also more of a random kind of dice roll. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of handle AI in games. And again, you don't need these cards, but if you're into cards, if you like cards, because cards can be fun, then like all this information is in the book, but it's sort of nice to maybe just have it on a card. I don't know. And also with Death Wizards, we sell the cards also just as a PDF. So if you don't want to actually get the cards shipped to you because it's kind of expensive, if you don't live in the States because they're only produced in the States, then you can just get the PDF as well. So when you're building or designing something along those lines, it is kind of smart to try to figure out whether you want that randomness or whether you want it to be more just completely and straight kind of if-then. If-then can be a little bit more... I don't want to say realistic, but a little bit more realistic, kind of. Whereas the roll a dice and see what happens, obviously it adds randomness to things, but it makes you react a lot more as opposed to being like, well, this will happen because, like, when it's completely if-then, if you get really smart about how the AIs work, you can almost kind of kite them around and get them to do things and stuff like that, because they're like, well, if I move this guy back, then he won't be the closest guy, which means that this guy who's been moving across the board towards the closest guy now has to start moving towards this other guy who's now the new closest guy, because that's the thing that they do, is they first move to the closest guy, and then if this, then that, and, you know, that kind of thing. So good morning, Middle Tennessee checking in. How you doing? Got to break my gaming drought. Played Gaslands last Saturday night. First time in months. Nice. Let's see here. I'm way behind all of a sudden. It's so strange. Portland, Tokyo, Japan. There we go. Berlin, Germany. There we go. Good morning from snowy New Hampshire. How you doing? Any hints on the next Snarling Badger game from you and Vince? It'll come out in late May. and it will be both print on demand and PDF. So there you go. Good morning from a beautiful snow-covered Junction City, Wisconsin. As someone who only paints minis, I am really excited to hear about some solo play games. Tuning in with the wife this week. Well, hello, how you doing? Yeah, there's a lot of different ones out there. I can kind of go through and talk about some of them in a little bit here. VJ Morph, how you doing? Morning from snowy Connecticut, heading out to clear snow. Nemo is 16th to 18th of May this year. Yep. Winnipeg checking in, first live stream. Well, glad to have you. Working on fixing Fiddler's Tale from Infinity while listening. Broke it along the middle, and it's so thin and a pain to figure out how to fix. Yeah. Really small metal stuff can be a pain. Yeah, for sure. Morning, everyone from chilly Juneau, Alaska. Cold brew is on the menu this morning. See, I'm always, in the winter, I'm definitely a hot coffee guy. Let's see. Good morning from Maryland, working on some Krieg and Orcs. Nice. Good evening from Tokyo, Japan. How you doing? Good morning from the geographic middle of Iowa. Nice. Good morning, Adam. How's your months going in these times we're living in? How's your months going? So far so good. I saw a graphic that showed the way the year works, and it's basically, as the year starts out, it's this long January and then long February and then like March, and then it's like April, May, June, July, and it's just boom, and then you're Christmas again. So I feel that. I do. I really do. Because yeah, January and February they go for a real long time. So yeah. Hello from Seattle. I've got some dwarves for an Oathmark army I'm trying to get motivated to paint while recovering from the flu. Well, I hope you get better from the flu. Just try painting just one dwarf, or maybe just one dwarf's boots, or maybe two dwarf's boots, and then see where it takes you. Awesome that Peachy is joining the crew. Yeah, Peachy's a cool guy. Morning from Portland, Oregon. Let's see. Rolling Thunder says -9 degrees Fahrenheit this morning. It's pretty cold, you know. Peachy's a good lad, indeed. Starship Troopers, not Steamship. Autocorrect, I see. Okay, I was like, Steamship Troopers, that's interesting. But that does make more sense. Up in the cold mid-north BC, checking in as to the subject, sometimes solo is the only way to get a game in. Yeah, in some situations, it's just, timing and like, there's a lot of different things that come up. Yeah. Peachy's doing some great work on model agnostic games, plus he has a great mix of understanding life costs in games. Yeah, absolutely. Just played my first game of Kill Team last week. I really enjoyed it. It gave me a good reason to build Space Marines in a way I would not normally. Absolutely, I can see that benefit. That's the thing that's cool about skirmish games in general. Terrence, how you doing? Good time of day. Just wrapping up a fun Capricorn weekend in Chicago, and I'll inform my Adepticon packing of snacks and such. Gotcha. Yeah. Let's see here. Hi from Nottingham. How you doing? Good morning from rainy Delaware. Good afternoon from Belgium. Good morning from PEI. I don't think I know what PEI is. Last time I caught a stream, you suggested cheap kits to find torsos and legs. Now I'm painting Corsairs as Sylvaneth's Revenant proxies. There you go. I got no snow. I need snow. There's no snow in Milwaukee. Wow, okay. All right. No snow down in Racine either. Wow. Most have been all up here. Oh, and the plow's going by right now, so it'll plow in the apron of my driveway, which will be great. I mean, it's not that much, so it probably won't be that big of a deal. Let's see here. Afternoon, Adam and chat working on my final Cursed City hero, however many years after I bought on launch. Yeah. Got a dusting of snow downtown. No new mini purchases for me, as taking the family to Seoul in May. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. But I have a printer, paints, and an OPR monthly sub, so I'll be fine. Yes, you will be. Absolutely. Yard still underwater. Well, that's no fun. Tabletop Engineer does a fair amount of solo gaming. Yeah, I subscribe to Tabletop Engineer. I'm 98% sure. Circular logo? Yeah, I'm 98% sure I do. Does a lot of laser cutting, right? Is that the same guy? I hope so. Anyway. Got around 6 inches of snow. Finally feels like a proper winter. Yeah, it's been not wintry here much. I mean, there's been we did have a good stretch where it didn't get above freezing for like 2 weeks. But yeah. Good morning from Dothan, Alabama. That's a fun one. That sounds, Dothan sounds like a Star Wars word. Working on some trench pilgrims. That's what I was doing last night, trench pilgrims. Yesterday, assembled my thermic plasma regulators and just primed it. At first, I wasn't in a mood to do it until I decided to give it a go and finished it. It's a good way to get the gray slate. Yeah, honestly, let's just start doing something, you know? Just do one thing. Made a video about that years and years ago. Just do one thing. Raging Heroes Infinite. Finally, a spectacular set of Imperial Guard STLs along with a great-looking Rhino proxy. Huh. Been listening to the beginning of show often, the doing other things. Gotcha. Greetings from Hot Springs, Arkansas. How you doing? Is Song of Blades and Heroes a solo game? Generally, no. There may be solo rules that Andreas has added, but I don't know that for sure. I've never played it solo. I've only ever played it like doing demonstrations and playing with friends and stuff like that. But I don't know. There might be some sort of solo add-on for it, but it is not standard that way that I know of. Let's see here. Good morning from Delaware. Ready to test out the cans of Color Forge sprays on some Infernus Marines. I keep seeing that stuff, but there's no place around here that carries it. So, coincidentally, I'm printing off some Dave Grapham models for the next scenario in Ranges of Shadowdeep. Nice. I haven't tried it yet, but the Kill Team 2024 has an interesting solo rule set. Yes, they did add solo and co-op to that, which I thought was interesting, for sure. Vince and I like to say that it was because of us, but it wasn't. Warmed up a little, but still below freezing yesterday. Was out without a hat and my winter coat open. Yeah, I've gotten to the point as an old man that going out in the winter without a hat is, I notice it for sure. Weather patterns are changing. Thanks, climate change. Yep. Good morning from. Oh, that's fine. I can handle that. Good morning from Fort Thomas, Kentucky. Had my first game of bolt action last night, and the first kill was Hitler getting blown up by a mortar. Well, that's a pretty good way to start. Was the new version, the the version 3 or whatever of the rules? Printing an Amazon OPR army for the girlfriend. Nice. I hate typing on smartphones. Yeah, I feel like it's gotten worse. I don't know how that happens, but I do feel like it's gotten worse to type on smartphones. I don't know. When my daughter was very young, I got into the pre-painted collectible miniature game Axis and Allies Mech Warrior. Ended up eventually repainting a bunch of those. It was fun for a while. I played the pre-paint Mech Warrior game for a while. I remember that. To paint a camo net on the front of a Matilda hedgehog to hide the fact that I have lost both the kit headlamps. Well, you know, sometimes headlamps get knocked off. That's just the way it works. I think I would do more delving if I played a solo game. The RPG fan of me would come out. I could see that for sure. Every miniature I painted is an army kill team. I have it ready for a game. Nice. I've been playing Warhammer Solo since starting the hobby in the early 9th edition. I use the bolt action random dice mechanic for activations. With so many rules changes, I find it hard to keep up. Yeah, that was a lot of the response on Friday's video. There's a lot of people that were like, it's rules changes. I mean, there's a lot of people that were talking about price, obviously, too, but there's a lot of people that were like, rules changes is what is making it difficult for me to play. You know what I mean? And I get it. I definitely do. Excuse me. Let's see here. Oh, coming by again. Yeah, I can shovel that. That's fine. North Queensland had flooding, I believe. Oh, that's no good. Definitely be more in a full flavor 40k if I could keep the game on pause in a room or something. Hard to make breakfast around a Space Marine Chaos battle. Yeah, well, you're not wrong. Has anyone played solo games like Grid Runner, print and play type? I haven't heard of Grid Runner, no. I was thinking, though, that Battlefront Valkyrie, they should really have a solo play option. I think that'd be fun. Pesler the Polychromatic asks, are you going to fight Peachy in the car park? This is a running joke. I don't know the running joke. I don't want to fight Peachy. I'm hoping I don't have to. I shouldn't have to, I wouldn't think. I think we call them parking lots over here, though, too. Let's see. Good morning from snowy Connecticut. Have you ever played 4 Against Darkness? I bought a copy on Amazon years and years and years ago. And it showed up and it was all bent and like it gotten squished in the mail or something like that. And so I think I sent it back and then they sent me a new one. And I don't think that I ever ended up playing it, but I did order a copy. Have you ever seen the upcoming? Have you seen the upcoming Guards of Traitors Toll game? Looks like it could be played solo. I haven't even heard of it. No, no. Hello from Salzburg. First time I catch you live. Well, it happened, Stefan. Glad to see you. I ran an OPR Grimdark firefight scenario yesterday. Had a strong Black Hawk Down vibe. APC disabled by insurgents with a Marine rescue team en route, and then orcs show up. The new guy had a blast. Nice. Excuse me. Got a frog in my throat. Not a literal frog. I also think a solo play crusade mode would be a good way to introduce the mechanic to 40k. Yeah, I could see that. I think that playing solo a big army game like that is considerably harder. I think I mean, it's much easier for them to put a solo mode into Kill Team than it is for them to put it into 40k, for sure. Yeah. I retired at the end of December. This should result in more time for solo play, but it hasn't yet. Want to get back to 5 leagues from the Borderlands in particular. Nice. It's supposed to be a wet season, but this is causing an absolute disaster from home hill to Cairns, road and rail links cut, homes ruined, 2 people dead. No, that's not good. Yeah. Like in some situations, like rain is good because it's like too dry, or there's like the fires were going on in California and stuff like that. But obviously, yeah, too much rain is also very, very bad. I picked up Aliens Another Glorious Day in the core, particularly for the solo play option, but haven't got to it yet. Gotcha. There we go. I am preparing my first game of 5 parsecs. My crew is prepared and ready to go against some gangers, and while listening, I am building some MDF walls for Rangers of Shadowdeep. Nice. So the Kickstarter for Trench Crusade faction Red Brigade was thinking about buying the STLs as I thought they would be sweet, a Soviet-type faction, but that's not the vibe, so I'm skipping it for now. They're not bad-looking models, but they're also, they're not Soviets. That's true. Except all the mold in my hobby room. Well, that's no fun. My brother bought all the painters in the family one of those brush cleaners you featured with the 1-button water replacement. So far, so good. Still using yours? Yeah. I like to call it the, what do I call it? My painting toilet? Brush toilet? Something like that. Yeah, I actually just had to kind of clean it and scrub it a little bit with toothbrush because it was getting a little grungy. And then the seal wasn't holding as well because it had a bunch of paint particles and stuff on it and everything like that. So, but yeah, I fired that up so I could use it yesterday, cleaned it out and all that kind of stuff. There's a part of me that wants maybe one that's a little bit different. I know there's a like fancier, more expensive one, but it's also larger. Like it's going to take up more of my desk. And I'm like, So I don't know. But right now, yeah, I am definitely still using it. On Friday, when I got downstairs to stream, I realized that it had dried out, which is why I had to fix it on Saturday. And so I was like, I didn't have time because it was literally minutes before I was supposed to go online. So I ran back upstairs and just got a glass of water and then used that for my paint. And boy, I missed like the ridges, like in the bottom of the thing, like the paint toilet that I have, it has ridges in the like reservoir area, so you can rub your bristles against them to help get the paint off of there. And when I used to use the GW gray plastic paint cup, same thing, ridges down at the bottom. And just having a regular old glass with no ridges in it, that just, I kind of miss the ridges. It's interesting how little things like that can bother you. Working on my Black Grail warband for Trench Crusade. Nice. I'm trying to remember if it was... So on Friday, I recorded a podcast. Well, I was a guest on a podcast. Carl Tuttle runs a podcast called The Independent Characters. It's been around for a very long time. It's probably one of the bigger 40K type podcasts and stuff. And so he had me and Mini Wargaming Dave on as guests, and we were talking about content creation and, what impact it has on the hobby and this and that and everything. It was a great conversation. It's coming out, I believe, tomorrow, which is Monday in my neck of the woods. But yeah, you'll be able to find it. I think it's episode 252, I think. But it should be coming out tomorrow on February 10th. Yeah. So anyway, we were kind of talking about Trench Crusade, and I can't remember if Dave said that he was doing Black Grail or the 7-headed serpent or whatever. I think it was maybe the 7-headed serpent, but that was the thing he was really, and we kind of talked about like Trench Crusade a little bit here and there. We talked about lots of different things. It kind of is the beginning part of the show is when we mentioned, because we were talking about like what we've been working on, and both Dave and I both have been working on Trench Crusade. So, Black Grail, Been seeing more content creators here with their painted Trench Crusade miniatures. They look amazing. They're most of them are very, very good models, I think. I really enjoyed 2 weeks ago doing that Anchorite Shrine. That's just a really cool model. It was a fun paint job. I really enjoyed the way it turned out. I'm pretty happy with the way most of my stuff is turning out so far. I've got the Anchorite Shrine painted. I've got one of the Stigmatic Nuns basically finished except for her base. The other one is real close to being finished. She needs to be kind of splattered with blood, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to kind of handle that for what I want to do. Had some conversation last night about that in the Discord call that we were doing. The 4 Trench Pilgrim, like troopers or whatever, the main kind of, regulars, they are nearly done. There's some touch up and stuff I want to do with them, but yeah. I've kit bashed a lieutenant, a trench cleric with a flamethrower, a sniper priest, a mechanized heavy infantry trooper, and 4 yeomen. Nice. Sam is kit bashing Heretic Legion stuff. And I think that Phil, also from the Army Painter Factory team, the Glacial Geek on YouTube, I think he is doing New Antioch, and I think he's kit bashing most of his stuff too, which is cool. I love the fact that they're like completely open to kit bashing and all that kind of stuff. I think that's a really smart move on their part. So, Gaslands is always great until that dreaded moment when you need a handful of shift results and the hazards just keep coming. Indeed. Red Brigade wraps up in 45 minutes, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Make any changes now? Oh, sure, yeah. While I love the aesthetics of Trench Crusade, I just can't commit time to another game right now. I craft my own terrain and I'm deep into hard sci-fi. Can't see a way to make time to make much trench terrain. I don't know that I'm going to make... I will probably eventually make trench terrain, but I don't think everything needs to be done in a trench. So that's why I see myself... like I've already got some terrain that I'd kind of started that was going to be World War I kind of oriented anyway for the last war. So it's in progress, and I think I can take a lot of that and just kind of reuse it with Trench Crusade as well. There's some extra parts and pieces that I might want to put in. I might want to build one of those cool crosses that a lot of people online have been building. That's like a cross, but it's also got antennas all over it and all that kind of stuff and everything like that. I think that'd be kind of fun too. But yeah, I don't. Eventually, I will do probably some sort of trenches actually, but I'm fine with also just doing a regular kind of flat thing using a mat and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Uncle Adam, have you and Vince thought about re-releasing the Death Wizards cards to include the newer cards? The stuff from Snarl 2024? No, not particularly. We haven't. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. That is the downside to some degree because, yeah, the Snarl 2024, which I happen to have right here, strangely enough, but I also have the Battletech Alpha Strike book also right here, and Space Weirdos, and the Blackout instruction booklet as well. I have everything. I don't know why. It's because I'm messy is mainly what it is. But for Death Wizards, there's new minions. So you have the Arisen Wolf, the Dread Warrior, the Flaming Horror, and the Night Walker. So there's really just 4 new undead minions and not any new heroes or anything, which heroes I can see having the cards a little bit more because you've got that information with the roll D10 and figure out what they did. But yeah, that's a good question. I also have this Pachow knit cap, which is not yet up for sale. But this is I want to say a print sample, but it's actually technically embroidered. It's not printed. So this will go live sooner versus later, but it's sitting here on my desk. It's nice. The only downside is if you've got a giant head like me, it's a little snug, but it's a knit cap. It's designed to stretch out. It does fit my head. It's a little snug in comparison to the normal hat that I wear. in the winter, which is made by my wife. Let's see, now I'm all staticky. But yeah, it's nice, and it'll go live maybe next week. I have to write text for it and all that kind of stuff. Good morning from Molly. How you doing, Molly? I'm into cards, ordering the Death Wizards card here when the wife is going home to family in the U.S. in a month. Gotcha. Nice. I think Kings of War is more popular over here in the UK for sure. Yeah. Excuse me. Big event of the year, Clash of Kings sold all 225 tickets with 2 days last week. Wow. I think the US 100 is the biggest event. Yeah. God, 40K, the 40K singles championships at Nova Open this year, not only did more than 1,000 people sign up, but more than 1,000 people showed up. They've had more than 1,000 people sign up and then only had like 900 only some actually play. But this year, I believe the number when they launched, they had first round was 1,050 or something like that. Like it was the first time they actually went over 1,000 people, which is, it means you need 500 tables. It's just crazy. Need a set of cards for the spells and powers for Death Wizards found that would be more useful than locations and upgrades. Interesting. Tell my wife, Ange, who can hear you, to let me paint inside today. It's too cold in PA. I mean, rattle can is not a great thing to do in the house, at least in my opinion, but, Hey, from the snowy Litchfield Hills of Connecticut. How you doing? When having NPCs on the table, we tend to go to alter the rules a bit if needed. Yeah, but now this paladin is angry, so he's just going to chase this guy down, as long as the result is worse for us. Absolutely. Gaddis Gaming, how you doing? Rules in the back of that card is an algorithm. Algorithms aren't exactly exclusively computer run. They existed before computers. True. Very true. I've been painting figures since COVID came down. Still haven't played anything but solo. I don't like that. I mean, playing with people is definitely harder than solo play. Like, I generally, and in computer games, playing with people is not hard because it's facilitated generally by the software, right? That generally takes care of it. But yeah, it's still, people can be weird and all kinds of issues and stuff like that. So for computer games and video games, that kind of thing, I have a tendency to play solo myself. It got even brighter. How is that possible? There we go. That's a little better, I guess. But yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I think that you're seeing so many different solo games out there, obviously, because there wasn't nearly as many as there used to be. And it's been a thing over the last several years. And I think part of that is definitely driven by the pandemic to some degree. I mean, that's when we launched Reign in Hell, we didn't put a solo mode in there. And then a bunch of people were like, it's 2021 still, right? Like I don't have any way to play with. And we were like, oh yeah. And then, we added on the Oculus Rift, and then that's not what it's called. The Oculus Spear. The Oculus Rift is a VR headset. Oculus Spear is what we did. And yeah, and then ever since then, we're like all of our big games like that. The reason we don't put solo rules in the games that go into Snarl is because they take up a lot of space. And we're trying to get these done in, like, this was the biggest Snarl we've ever done. It was, 36 pages? Yeah, it was 36 pages. We're trying to do a smaller one this year because it gets to a point where it becomes almost a little difficult to fold and staple at this. So, yeah, we're looking at the original Snarl 2023 with Tanks for the Apocalypse, and I think was 28 pages, something like that. So, yeah. I'd try Steamship Troopers. Sounds like a good mashup. I mean, that's something, yeah. Turns out there was a 96-player 40K tourney at the FLGS yesterday. Wow. It's been a while since I caught this live. Cheers from Cyprus. Well, how you doing? Morning from Gilbert, Arizona. How you doing? I thought the show was last week. The schedule got sort of messed up by Vegas, but it should be good now for a while because the next piece of travel I'm doing is going to Adepticon, and that won't be affected by this because every other Sunday show will be the week before Adepticon and the week after Adepticon, so that won't mess things up. And I think I looked as far ahead as even into Gen Con, I think, and I think that the schedule won't get messed up by that either. Nova Open, probably a different story, but we'll see. Winter's even longer when your furnace doesn't work and the electric company is taking away all your money as you huddle next to a space heater. Yes, also true. Very true. Steamship Troopers from Snarl 2025? No. But, like, we do know what Snarl 2025 is going to be, but Vince has done some notes, but there's nothing's been written yet. But we do know what it's going to be. But right now, as far as the game that's coming out in May, the end of May, that one is just about done with second round of playtesting and development, and then it's gonna go into copy editing / proofreading, and then I will probably start layout by the end of February, probably, which will be great because like last year I started layout after I got back from Denmark in mid-April, and I did not have very long to lay it out at all. So this is we changed schedule a little bit this year so that it's going to be done sooner, but we're still going to have it come out at the same time. But it's going to give us more of that, like we'll send it up, get a proof, look at it, mess with it, check it out, and then if any changes need to get made, it won't be a problem. The last game we did, Death Wizards, we weren't able to sell it at TMX because we weren't able to order it in time to actually get there in time for TMX. So because there had to be a change and some tweaks and stuff like that and everything. So we're working to make that not happen again this year. Just got a Bamboo 3D printer, tips, tricks, and advice for deconstructing support trees. Like taking them off of the model. I do use the trees versus the little grid things. I like those. Sometimes an X-Acto blade is helpful if you have to, but otherwise I haven't had huge problems for getting them off of the models too much. William Buckby, how you doing? Let's see here. I was able to take 2 Space Marine boxes and make 2.5 kill teams. Was wanting to try Dark Angels and Blood Angels. Nice. Fighting robot squirrels from outer space. I don't think so, but you know. Let's see here. I'd like to buy your game books on Amazon. Yeah, that's not probably going to happen. The Amazon print on demand stuff is a little squirrely. Like we looked at it and we were like, eh. So we're predominantly staying with Wargame Vault, which we've been real happy with. But yeah, I'll be honest, I'm absolutely kind of happy to not get into business with Amazon. So there's that too, I think. But yeah. Prince Edward Island, province of Canada. Gotcha. Shout out from Brazil. How you doing? What do you think about boss battle-oriented games? I guess I've never really played one per se. There's kind of a boss battle in Space Station Zero, kind of, towards the end, but yes. I guess I haven't really played them too much, you know? King's War Skirmish Kickstarter is so confusing to me. Old guy just wants to buy them so at their or another store. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they're doing a Kickstarter for something like that. Yeah. At least they stopped doing it for the normal Kings of War releases and stuff. Tabletop engineer has a laser cutting business. That's what I'm thinking of. Yep. Good afternoon from Amsterdam. Almost forgot every other Sunday show, but I'm just on time. Nice. How are we feeling about the OPR single player games? I've messed around with the Army Forge, but haven't really set up a game yet. I honestly haven't had a chance to look at it closely. I did order the sci-fi one, the Grimdark Future one, and I got a shipping notification relatively recently, so it should be getting to me soon. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Have you heard of When Nightmares Come by Osprey? Maybe? Is that a Patrick Todoroff book? Patrick Todoroff is the guy who did Zona Alpha. And I'm trying to remember if When Nightmares Come is written by him. I think it is. If I'm honest, my first experience in solo wargaming was 1983 playing Warlock of Firetop Mountain. Those fighting fantasy pages were the direction that got me on the path to tabletop gaming. Nice. I believe Colorforge is UK, EU only for the moment. They have started getting imported in the US. I think that they're working with Monument Hobbies. But yeah, I do know that they are available now. But I think maybe they're only ordered. You can only order them from Monument Hobbies. I don't know if you can get them in stores now that you mention it. Tabletop Engineer was running a solo 5 6 from home campaign. I'd swear he was running also either Majestic 13 or Death Wizards. So that's where I kind of first found out about him. Hello from France. How you doing? Good morning from Minneapolis. 0 degrees. Oh, wow. Okay. That's weird. Well, because here it's, what is it here? 15. So that's not too bad. That's Fahrenheit, of course. I always look in a game for solo mode because I only have one friend to play games with. Sure. Like I said, it gives you nice options, I think. And I think it was also smart of GW to add that into the most recent edition of Kill Team. Busily assembling a Gunpla Zaku warrior in central bloody cold Indiana. Good day to you, sir. Well, how you doing? Plow King or Mr. Plow? I don't know which one it was. I couldn't actually see it very well. Had to buy the Colorforge cans from their North American web store. Fulfillment was done by Monument Hobbies. See, that's what I thought. Hi, Uncle Adam. Happy Sports Ball Sunday. Oh, the superb owl. Yeah, I was going to say my wife will maybe watch because she's the sports fan in the house, but also she started playing Civilization 7 yesterday because she bought the fancy version that allows you to play several days early. And so that's the thing. So because the Packers aren't in it, I have a good suspicion she may watch or she may decide, you know what, Civilization 7 sounds like more fun. So there's that too. I am not a sports fan, so I don't really. Just finished up a great unclean one as a display piece after not painting for a year. The motivation has returned. Well, that's nice. You got to ride that, that thing. You got to ride that wave when you get it. Do you think the attendance at Adepticon this year will be just as big as prior years, given the new location? It may not feel that way because the new location is so large. Like you might be like, oh, geez, there's not as many people, but there very probably will be. I think that they said the pre-orders and stuff like that for badges were bigger than last year. I swear I saw that somewhere, but I could be wrong. But yeah, I think that Adepticon will probably continue to grow, probably for a good long while. Just because all the conventions, all the tabletop wargaming conventions have been growing over the years. So, will there be a point at which it flats, kind of goes flat for a while? Maybe. But I don't know, I think that Gen Con specifically, which is not a wargaming convention, but there is wargaming that goes on there, Gen Con would probably continue to grow if they weren't basically putting a lock on it. Gen Con was like 72,000 the last couple of years, but both the last couple of years, they finally got to a point where they're like, sorry, we're sold out. No more tickets. We're sold out. Because they know that basically 72,000 is the max that they can use in that facility. Well, it's not just one facility. That's the thing that's so crazy about Gen Con, being that many people, 72,000 people. There's the main convention center. They use all of that. There's the Lucas Oil Stadium where the Indianapolis Colts football team plays. They use all of that. And then most of the hotels that are within 2, 3, 4 blocks, all their conference rooms are also used, predominantly for RPGs is where most of those end up. But yeah, it's definitely a thing. And they've gotten to the point there where they're just like, look, we get to a point where we were like, it's sold out. And I don't know that, well, first of all, Adepticon won't have to do that for a good long time because there's a convention that takes place in that new facility every year, which I think it's an anime convention, and they do 25,000 or 23,000, something like that. So last year, Adepticon was like 10,000. So they'll be able to grow quite a bit if they want to. There may be a little dip this year. There might be some people who are like, nope, I'm not going to Milwaukee. I don't know why. But, there will probably be just as many people who will be like, okay, well, I'll take your space. You know what I mean? So Been playing some Zona Alpha solo. There's solo selections PDF on the Osprey website. Yes, there is. Yeah, it's actually not bad. Constant rule changes. Why I don't buy $70 rule books anymore. Yeah, I mean, I did the Trench Crusade Kickstarter, but I didn't do the book, even though it's going to have fancy artwork in it and all that kind of stuff. I was just like, I would just rather download the rules, because then when they update them, then I won't feel bad about how the book is now basically obsolete except for the art. And I just am not super into art books, I guess. I don't know. So when I did the Kickstarter for Trench Crusade, it was for STLs mainly, and Good morning from Atlanta, Georgia. How you doing? Let's see here. A bit late about that, but I started with wargaming with a 40K 4 years ago. I'm finally moving away from it after giving up on chasing the rules changes. I'm 40. I get to play like once a month. Yeah, and that's high for some folks. The average, according to the Great Wargaming Survey from Warrior Soldiers and Strategy, or Warrior Strategy and Soldier magazine, whatever it is, WSS. They say that the average is usually once every 2 months. So, or 3, I guess, maybe, I don't know. Let's see here. Grid Runner is the minigame series from Titan Forge, is it not? I don't know. Might be. Titan Forge, the STL people? Did I miss the news of Peachy joining your paint group? I don't know if it's been officially kind of announced by Army Painter. How does it keep getting brighter? I keep having to turn that down. All right. I don't know if it's been officially, I don't know if there's been a big thing. That'll probably, if anything, it might happen around Adepticon. But it is out there. I mean, Peachy has mentioned it on the podcast that he does with Louise and Rob. But yes. I know you're not into board games, but give that Aliens board game a proper look. It's very tactical for a board game. Interesting. Good day from Nottingham. Currently building some resin tanks. I have a skirmish war game I enjoy called War on Terra. So much so I'm writing solo/automata rules for it. Nice. I use a rock in the cup. That makes sense. Hello from Quebec. Quick question. When do you decide the game is done? I feel like I always find something more for the game and never finish. I mean, it's kind of like the same sort of situation that they say about in art. Art is never truly finished. It's just abandoned. I think that's part of it a little bit, is you get to a point, for us, we definitely, Vince and I, have an idea of what we want to do. And we do like to start off with kind of a design document that explains to us what we're planning on doing, because you can really fall prey to scope creep really easy. You know what I mean? You can really just be yeah, but what if we took time and we actually added this in? Oh, what if we did this? But what if we added in this? And it's the same type of thing that you see in software development. It's the same thing I'm sure you get in writing novels. You could yeah, but I could add more, but I could do this and I could do that. And you're yeah, but, or get it done. You know what I mean? And for us, because we are putting out a game a year, we are very acutely aware of, yeah, we need to get this finished. If something, adding some more stuff to it, well, okay, we'll look at doing that later maybe, or whatever. But yeah, maybe it's something that ends up in a, one of the benefits of having Snarl is we can add some stuff to some of our games without having to make a full-blown expansion, and we're not really interested in having to make expansions. So in this situation, we can add a little bit of flavor to the games that we've already made, to tweak things if you want to, and they're there in the thing. But we're also giving you a game in there as well. So if you buy it just because you want to play the Great Goblin Argle Bargle, or if you want to play Tanks for the Apocalypse, you can do that. But then, you also are going to get an add-on for Space Station Zero or Rain in Hell or something like that. So that's kind of the idea behind that. But as far as how do you know when it's done? If it works, that helps a lot too. Yeah, but you can fall down fall into a trap of just well, I have to constantly keep adding and keep adding and keep adding, and the trick is to learn how to stop. There are paint cup STLs free on Maker World for your Bamboo A1 if you like, and they have ridges. Nice. Ridged for your brush's pleasure. Me and my partner use paint pucks, which are a similar thing. Yeah, and somewhere I know in the house I do have one of those kind of rubber paint pucks that goes in the bottom, but I don't know where it was, and I was like in a hurry because like I was almost late for my stream, so yeah, I used that thing. But normally it's not too big of a deal. Working on my entry for the worthy for this year's Adepticon. Nice. Your new game this year better be armored robot squirrels versus wet elf zombies, or we will be disappointed. Well, prepare for disappointment. Brush toilet not having ridges on bottom. See, mine does. That's the thing. That's why I like it. I glued a silicone makeup brush cleaner has ridges and bumps to the side of my painting mug. More solo play rules, please, designers, especially something for Warcry. Yeah. So Warcry is going to get a new edition this year, or it's going to be canceled. One of the two. It's been 3 years since the launch of second edition, so we have to assume, because of GW and their love for the number 3, that this summer is going to be the summer of new Warcry. Or they're just going to discontinue it, because they haven't mentioned Warcry on the Warhammer community website. Let's see if this is true still. Yep. Oh, wait, no. Well, okay. So if I do a search for Warcry on the Warhammer community site, there was a mention of it in the Miniature of the Year 2024 Vote for Your Favorites here. There was a mention of Warcry 6 December 2024. But previous to that, it was late September. So if you take out the Miniature of the Year category that they might have been in, they haven't posted a single thing about Warcry since late September. So that makes me a touch nervous, but we'll see. I don't know. It is kind of weird. So I hope that they do eventually decide what they're going to do. But yeah, it's a good question. I do hope, I would like to see a new edition of Warcry, but there's also a part of me that's like, yeah, but I also don't want them to screw it up just for the sake of making a new edition. Like, they didn't do that with second edition. They came up with a new edition, they added a few little things, and it was cool. My fear is they are going to basically screw with the what do you call them? The mechanics of how you build forces, and make it more like Kill Team. And then that way they can have boxes of stuff and they can put those out, and then they can kind of do the video game thing where they're like, well, the season on this is ending, so this box is no longer, and all that kind of jazz, as opposed to what they're doing now in Warcry, which is like, here's a compendium, use Age of Sigmar models, knock yourself out. But we'll see, I guess. There we go. Let's see here. Scrolling. Has anyone bought minis from Etsy? I think their high elves seem too good to be true. I bought minis from Etsy. I think it's a little bit of, we'll see what happens kind of thing. But yeah. As many YouTube Trench Crusade videos as I've seen about building that cross from Trench Crusade, I've decided to call it the Crafter's Cross. I mean, it makes sense, yeah. Hello from the Philippines. Been a while since I've watched along, now painting Cyclops and the other X-Men from MCP. Nice. Giant head miniature game, Wargamers Unite. Yeah, no, that's the yes, the hat. Yeah, love my Pachau beanie. Comes with everywhere in winter. I saw Emily, the registered nerd, on Friday, and she was wearing hers, so that was nice. World War I spread everywhere from European towns and trench wastelands to North Africa and the jungles of Papua New Guinea. Even one incident in the Silverton tramway. Wow, that's pretty cool. Are you thinking about checking out Star Trek Into the Unknown? I was. Is it finally available now? Because they were like, oh yeah, it's Q3, Q4, maybe Q1. Yeah. But I don't know if it's, I should look and see if it's available. But I was interested. I saw it at Gen Con and I thought, ooh, this looks really cool. And then I don't know if it ever did come. Like, hopefully it came out. I'm late, but I'm loving the trend towards solo and co-op. Good to hear. I appreciate that. I think that's a good thing. Now I can actually get games in even with 6 inches of fresh snow. That's also a thing. Is sometimes weather and stuff like that can get in the way of having someone come over. But yeah. You know that one collector that has an insane number of copies of the movie Titanic? I think I want to do that with Shadow Wars Armageddon. So I have my copy of Shadow Wars Armageddon, and I was just recently thinking, I'm like, I should see if maybe Sam wants to play that, but I'd have to probably try to find another copy of the book because I don't know that he has a copy. Actually, I should ask. He might, but I don't know if he does. But I really enjoyed Shadow Wars Armageddon. One of the biggest benefits, in my opinion, of Shadow Wars Armageddon is it's again also predominantly in one book. It's not like Sam and I and Raven and a couple other people have been kind of trying to get some like Necromunda together, and that's a lot of books. It's a lot of big, thick books and a lot of. Ugh. So I don't know. Indoor rattle canning is livable if you have a bathroom with a good exhaust fan. Yeah, we don't. Hope all is well getting through kill teams and more Moonstone figs today. Nice. Working on my U-boat for scabs. Nice. Good morning from Bremerton, or is it Bremerton? Washington. Debating about working on Victory at Sea units. Nice. I'm wanting to check out Moonstone. Love the models and the game looks pretty fun. Someone ran a demo of Moonstone at TMX last year, and it was well received. Bamboo A1 settings, Z-top layer change to 0.28. It will come off easier. A shaven is skaven without hair. Could be, yeah. When Nightmares Come is Totoroff. That makes sense, yep. Painting up some of my Knucklebones miniatures. Nice. Does Warlord Games still make Strontium Dog? It's a 2000 AD property. I think so, maybe, but I don't know. It's a good question. Hello from Nova. How you doing? Been playing a while now. If you find the models you like, the lookout, it is like playing poker to bluff the other player and pick up the most stones. Just started a league with a group. Oh, for the Moonstone? Gotcha. I write solo games mostly because I'm bad at competitive war games. If you're sick of losing, playing co-op is a good way to go. I only watch for the commercials and the movie trailers. Oh, for the Super Bowl, sure. Let's see here. Morning from Columbia, South Carolina. As more of the game stores close, I think the market for solo gaming will grow. Affordable indie games will likely never replace GW. No, of course not. But the options have never been better for us. Absolutely, absolutely. That's the thing. I'm not trying to tell people how to live their life or whatever, but you do come across people who, and it's always GW. It's people who are like, no, this is the only game out there. This is the only game, and you're like, I assure you, it's not. And they, I'm sure, know that there are other games out there, but they're just like, I'm not going to look outside of 40K or Age of Sigmar or maybe just Games Workshop in general, and that's fine. Again, people can do what they want, but I think that I've made this analogy many times. It's very much like if you were just like, nope, I only listen to Taylor Swift because it's the most popular thing and that's what I listen to. And you're like, but there's so many other musical acts out there that might be more to your liking or whatever. And it's the same type of deal. Indie games and indie music have a lot in common. And a lot of people, I mean, sure, there are folks out there that just listen to whatever the most popular top 40, whatever thing is, and that's it. And they do that their entire lives. But in most people, start with some sort of top 40 in their younger years and then immediately move into stuff that's less radio friendly or whatever. And people don't generally find that weird, but it seems to be slightly weirder in some way in tabletop wargaming. But I don't know. At the very least, Vince and I are trying to make it a little bit more or less weird. I don't know if that really makes a lot of sense there, but I'd play Civilization. I still want to play Warhammer Total War 3, but PC gaming is a fool's errand for me. Sure. Good time of day from snowy New York. I'm excited for narrative with a new kill team using the non-player rules. Mountainside Tabletop just did a bat rep where they did co-op custom escape from Angron and kill team. Nice. There was a guy in the 5 Parsecs Facebook group getting annoyed about the OPR solo claiming that they were copying 5P. Nonsense, and more choices of games is a good thing. It's a golden age for solo war games. People can get very attached to specific properties, and the concept that, like, oh, well, like the whole idea that, like, say, One Page Rules or anybody else is copying, let's say, 5 Parsecs because, oh, well, 5 Parsecs did solo gaming, and then all of a sudden somebody else did, and so therefore they're copying. No, not really. I mean, like, 5 Parsecs is not the first solo game out there, as it turns out. It's a well-known one. It's a well-done one. It's well-known enough that as an indie game that I got picked up by Modifius, so that's cool. But yeah, I mean, there's people out there that are like, any game that comes out after 40K, well, it's just a rip-off of 40K. I'm like, it's not even close to 40K. Like, it's very, very different or whatever. And, anyway. Let's see here. Is Poor Hammer's Horde mode the only way to play 40K solo? I have vaguely heard of that, but never tried it or known anything about it, so I don't know. Oh, now, of course, we get a cloud. Finally got my best friend to move away from competitive games to co-op games. We're pleasantly surprised to see co-op games in the new Kill Team rulebook. Yeah, like I said, I think that GW is finally starting to realize that because there's so many different co-op and solo games out there, they're like, well, gosh, maybe we should think about that as well, Perfect is the enemy of done, sure. Warlord doesn't do Strontium Dog anymore. Oh, that's too bad. How's your 3D sculpting going? I've been getting into sculpting covers for my MIDI controllers. The digital calipers are really getting a workout. I have not done any in a little bit because I've been working on the the Trench Pilgrim stuff. I've been working on a bunch of terrain that is not I've been working on terrain that was already printed. So I haven't created any new stuff recently. I had so much stuff that I printed over the summer and into the fall that I then primed, and then I was looking at it and I was like, I should really paint a bunch of this stuff that I've got sitting around primed terrain. So I was working on, it's actually strangely not 3D printed, but I got this like mausoleum from, I want to say from Reaper. It's like a little mausoleum kit, and I built that and primed it. And so that's the thing I've been painting on recently, but I also want to do some, and now I'm going to use that for Death Wizards most likely. But I also got a bunch of sci-fi stuff that I'm in progress on as well. So I haven't done any sculpting in a bit, but I do have another, like that vent that I did, that sci-fi vent that was actually just like a downspout elbow or whatever from your rain gutters. I have a different one of those that I did do some modeling for and printed that stuff, and it's done, but it needs to go on a base. And so I will be modeling the base for it, and then I'll be able to take that, and then once it gets nice out again, then I'll be able to rattle can it and go through all that stuff. So that's the next thing I have planned, but I haven't honestly done any in a little bit there because because I've just been working on the terrain that I did do, you know what I mean? Star Citizen is a victim of scope creep. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Any game that's been in pre-alpha or whatever for 10 years is, yeah, definitely. Gonna go have a good week and hopefully get some more miniatures done. Absolutely. Finished 15 millimeter Ancients, and now painting old metal 40K minis, Gaunt Ghosts, and Lehman Russ and his wolves. As an 80s kid, there's been more peer pressure for 3D printing than there was for drugs or alcohol. I mean, it's cheaper than drugs, probably. I think so, probably. Depends on the drugs, I guess, really. Let's see here. Ruffles have ridges. Drop them in the paint cup. That's not going to work out, I think. That's going to get weird. Big fan of solo game Perilous Tales by Mike Hutchinson. I played a lot of it, the beta during the pandemic. I know of Mike Hutchinson. I don't know that we've met, but I haven't heard of Perilous Tales. Maggie, cut it out. She's like clawing at my knee for some reason, like she wants attention. What are you doing? She's underneath the desk. Saw your video about Flames of Orion. Looks really cool. Definitely want to kit bash some minis for that game. Do I have a copy of that on my desk? I don't think I do. No, I don't. But I do have a copy of it. Listening to the podcast, listening to the Hive Scum podcast, it sounds like Steve is very close to publishing. So that's really cool. I don't know if he's going to have it at Adepticon, but I think he might. But we'll see. What is it? You're just clawing at me like you want pets. Okay, here's some pets. Calm down. Picked up a puck for the bottom of my paint jar at Dragonfall. Yeah, those little rubber pucks are really nice, actually. New edition or canceled Warcry seems right because I just got a Sylvaneth Warband for a Crypt of Bloodstarter. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like nobody knows, and they've been real quiet about it. And like I said, they have not spoken a word about Warcry on the Warhammer community website since late September, except in December they were like, "Oh, look, here's a potential for miniature of the year," but otherwise no news about it. I think the shoving of all the OG warbands to Legends was the signal that Warcry was going in the bin. Maybe. I hope not, but maybe. Good news from Germany, working on my Trench Pilgrim warband. Nice. I was last night. I'm not doing it right now because I'm doing this. Be not afraid. It is a certainty that it will be so. It's 4.0 or dead this summer. Well, technically 3.0 because so the first Warcry came out in 2019. And then 2022 was the second edition, and now 2025 would be third edition, I think, or not. Yeah. Big shout out for the game Maladum. It's a very nice game from Battle Systems, and you play solo. I think I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it anywhere. I don't know I hope that they're at Adepticons. I'd like to take a look at it. Get a brush scrubby and wash cup from Game Envy. Love their products and can't live without mine. Yeah, I really do like having something at the bottom of the cup to make the bristles kind of hit and everything like that. It helps to get the paint off. But they do some nice work there too. Any updates on early ticket sales for TMX? There aren't any. We don't do online tickets. Well, so there's for the painting classes, when we announce those, then there's you buy those tickets online because there's only like 16 seats per class, and so those have to be done online. That's the way we've done the last 2 years. But as far as like showing up to the convention, just show up. There's no online ticket sales for the convention. If you go to websites, and we go here and we go Tabletop Minions, TMX. There we go. So the website's up. It's June 7th and 8th, 2025 at the Oshkosh Convention Center. There's stuff scheduled now. So there's painting classes. That information will get added here once Vince and Sam have said yes, and I've asked a couple other folks, and I'm still waiting on some response. But we've got in our event schedule. So there's people running Learn to Play Necromunda, Learn to Play Trench Crusade. So far, that's pretty much about it for Saturday. But it's just like a lot of it over and over again. And then Sunday is Learn to Play Cyberpunk Combat Zone and Learn to Play Trench Crusade. So it's pretty early days of the Game Master form being up, but the Game Master sign-up form is now here on the website. So you just put in your information here, event title, yada, 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 all that stuff, and hit submit, boom. There's housing information here, the link for the group rate for the Tabletop Minions Expo. The hotel is now technically a Marriott hotel, so if you got Marriott points, you might be able to make some hay there as well. They got rid of the pool and turned it into a much larger, fancier bar/restaurant, which is actually quite nice. So there's that too. Currently, the only vendor is Snarling Badger Studios, but I did have a conversation last week with Jefferson from One Page Rules, and they're planning on being vendors. There's also a company that reached out that makes super expensive, like magnifying glass, like it's like if you go to the dentist office and the dentist is wearing glasses, but then it's got like these metal like little telescopes that are like actually sunk into the glasses. company that makes those is like, we're wondering about vending at your thing. And I'm like, their products are like $500. I was like, I don't know if you want to come all the way from wherever the heck you are to talk to 100, maybe 150 people about $500 glasses. But, maybe they do. So anyway, that information is all updated with the new website and all that kind of stuff and everything like that. Got a cool video in the background. There's Vince. There's Phil. Phil's lost a bunch of weight since this video, so it looks quite different. That was actually Flames of Orion right there. This was a one-page rules thing put on by the Chicago Skirmish Wargamer folks, I think. This was Cyberpunk Red. There's Raven right there and his wife Avery. Anyway, so yeah, it's go check it out. tabletopminions.org/tmx if you're interested. There we go. Let's see here. There's a strange bug in here flying around, a little gnat. Into the Unknown is having a real abandoned game vibe already. Virtually no new news or real marketing for it. Is it actually out, or did they just give up? I would not be surprised a bit if it was like stuck in customs or something like that, because whenever you're like, oh yeah, we're going to do a pre-paint, you all of a sudden discover how difficult pre-paints are. I mean, Asmodee figured it out pretty quickly, or, Fantasy Flight Games at the time or whatever. I have an extra copy of the book if you need one. I have 3 copies of Shadow Armageddon, just the book. Wow, no kidding. I've tried solo tabletop games, but for me, part of the appeal is playing with friends at the shop, meeting people. Kind of makes me depressed playing solo. Back to the hobby shop this evening. I mean, I think there's something to be said for that. Some folks have definitely got the like it's got to be against another person, and whether it's because the person is an extrovert or whether it's just, I don't know. I think that solo wargaming, at least for me, one of the reasons why I kind of enjoy it is because I'm kind of building a story and a narrative in my head. If you are a competitive player, solo wargaming is not for you, not in any way, shape, or form. But if you are a person who is like, I want to just like build a cool story and stuff like that, then I think solo wargaming can make a lot of sense. Like I said earlier, there's a big benefit to solo wargaming in that you can make it take as long as you want. You can hit pause basically and go do stuff and come back as long as you kind of can remember what you were doing. It's probably not a bad idea to write a little note or put something in your phone. But the other benefit that I'm looking at it from is that I could do some, battle reports or something. But the problem is, at least for me, I've only done very few battle reports, but the battle reports that I have done, which were Kill Team battle reports back in the 2018 version of Kill Team, I'm always concerned about the time that I'm making this other person who I'm playing with spend. You know what I mean? Because making a battle report is not, it slows things down. It is definitely not the way a normal game that you play with your friend flows, because there's a lot of like starting and stopping and this and that and all that kind of stuff. And so it takes a lot longer as well. So if I'm not having to depend upon another person, and their kindness to come along and play this game very slowly with me so that we can make this piece of content or whatever, if I don't have to depend on that, it makes me feel better, at least in that fashion. So if it's just me wasting my own time to make a battle report that no one will watch, then at least I don't feel like, well, I also wasted the other person's time as well, to some degree. And that's, whatever. That's my own personal issue. But, yeah, so I do enjoy the concept of that, and I think that I could make some, because like really interesting battle reports are the ones sometimes that are a little bit more narrative, I think. And if you have to take some time to like set up a shot and go, and then this guy came over here and did this and this happened and all that kind of stuff, working with another person in that situation is like, okay, hang on, I got to set this up, I got to do all this stuff, and they're like, and so, and whether they are or not, that's what I'm thinking in my head. So the concept of doing it solo means that it's kind of like, there are photographers out there that take a lot of, well, we would call them selfies, but back in the day, they were known as self-portraits. And the reason that some of these photographers do these self-portraits is because then they don't have to annoy somebody else to sit there for them while they mess around and try to get the right shot. And they don't have to go, no, make your face look like this just a little bit, because they can tell themselves to make their face look like that. And they know what they're talking about. So there are some photographers out there that do a lot of that kind of stuff. And sometimes, I mean, nowadays, obviously, it's just a lot of selfies because it's a lot of, whatever, Instagram models or whatever. But even historically within the photography, there were artists, photographers that would shoot self-portraits because then they didn't have to work with a model. You know what I mean? Like kind of like that. So I can totally understand it for sure. Let's see here. Got to get signed up for TMX. I might have 3 games to demo instead of my usual 1. Nice. Going to be a big year. Well, that's very cool. I too am painting Moonstone models today. Lovely models, but can be fiddly to paint and a bit fragile. Are they plastic or resin or metal? I guess I don't know. With retro video gaming being huge, more stores should embrace retro tabletop, sell all kinds of minis, and support the store with snacks and dice. I mean, yes, you're not wrong. That being said, a lot of stores don't do that because so many game stores are literally a one-person operation. So I have a hard time sometimes faulting stores where like all they carry is 40K or just, Games Workshop, let's say. They only carry Games Workshop. And you're like, but there's so many other companies out there. They're like, yeah, but then I have to do the research to figure out which ones I should carry. And then, very few people know that they're here at the store or whatever, and it's a thing and blah, blah, blah. If I just carry this stuff, it's easy. People buy it. It's fine. And I get that from a lot of stores. But there are also stores out there that have the ability. Either they've started and grown and now they have employees. And so somebody can be like, either the kind of the spearhead, not to spearhead the game, but like the person who's like the point of the spear, who says, this game is getting popular online. We should buy these models and these models so that you can use them for this miniature agnostic game, or this thing is cool and blah. I see a lot of people go, well, geez, I don't know why these stores don't just start 3D printing stuff and selling it. Well, because it's hard to 3D print stuff. Like, especially if you're a one-person operation, then you're the 3D printer guy. You're also the guy who cleans the toilets. You're the guy that orders the stuff. You're the guy that restocks the snacks. That's the thing. And a lot of game stores are one-person operations, maybe 2. Sometimes it's like, a couple, like a husband and wife or something like that or whatever. One of the shops here in town is basically a one-person operation, and sometimes his wife is involved as well, but she's got her own day job. And then the other shop has 3, 4, and 5 employees, so they're a much bigger operation, and they can also carry a lot more stuff and all that. But it all comes down to just how long you've been doing it, how well you've been doing it. The store that's mainly a one-person operation, lots and lots and lots of Warhammer stuff, but also lots and lots of Magic the Gathering, because the owner is also a big Magic the Gathering player. So when you go into that shop and you're looking at singles and asking questions, he's got expertise to say, well, you should add this to your deck, or you thought about this or that kind of stuff. Whereas the other shop doesn't necessarily get into singles and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, being a store owner is a lot harder than I think a lot of people think. Allison Silverhair, how you doing? Setting up a solo game of Flights of Fantasy today since I won't be watching the Superb Owl. I just like saying that. It'll be Mankind, Minotaur, Warriors versus the Church Militant Humans, and an Annihilation scenario. Neat. That's pretty cool. John Kovalik was a guest at Capricorn and talked about buying his D&D white box at Games Workshop when it was just the one tiny store. Nice. I'm trying to remember if I've met John. I know he lives in Wisconsin, or I think he does at least. I think he lives in the Madison area, but I could be wrong. I've seen him before, from a distance in person, but I don't think I've ever met him. What has been your best primer rattle can spray you've come to using? So generally for rattle cans, my favorite rattle cans for using are generally either the Army Painter ones because of the colors. So if I'm looking for a specific, whatever kind of color, I like the Army Painter ones for the colors. But if I'm just doing it just needs to be black or brown, more often than not, I either end up with the either Rust-Oleum or Krylon camouflage colors. So both of those brands, they're camouflage colors. There's usually 6 colors. There's a black, there's a very dark brown, there's 2 colors of 2 different versions of tan, like a light and a dark tan, and 2 different versions of an olive drab or greenish, olive color. Again, a light and a dark. They don't match each other. So if you grab the light green or the light olive from Krylon and then the light olive for Rust-Oleum, they don't match each other particularly. So that's something to think about. But I mean, the black kind of does, but yeah. And then also Rust-Oleum makes some sort of black enamel primer in a really tall silver can that I also like a lot, but I can't think of the direct name off of it. But it was suggested to me by the guys from Death Ray Designs. It's what they use on MDF to basically seal their MDF before they start painting. It seems to work really, really well for that. But I also use filler primer sometimes too, depending if I'm 3D printing something and it looks kind of rough. I'll sometimes just use like filler primer too, which I think is also a Rust-Oleum product, I think. What, there's more than one Taylor Swift? Oh, more than just Taylor Swift. Exactly. It's like only eating McDonald's. You'll never experience amazing food if you don't find that hole in the wall ethnic food place. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good point too. The only GW exists, folks, remind me of the folks who think WWE is the only wrestling that counts because it's the biggest promotion. It's like thinking McDonald's is the best restaurant in the world. See, you and JP Got Rockets are on the same page there. The only game out there attitude is also shared by the Magic, the Gathering players. Yeah, I can see that too. Everything else is sneered at or just ignored with a haughty sense of superiority. Many people don't get that art is imitation and innovation. There you go. Meanwhile, 40K is literally a ripoff so much of the sci-fi that came before. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Random Gamer, all games are a ripoff of 40K. You know, I see that a lot. Happy Sunday from the woods of New York City. There you go. North of New York City, not in New York City. That'd be weird. Just shoveled my driveway. Snow is overrated. Snow is a little bit of a bummer, but, you know, it is what it is. Busy making a display board for my Spectre Operations Delta Army. I kind of made a display board, sort of, for Nova. And it was a small one, so it would fit my luggage relatively well, but it was a very small one. It was just very simple. And it was for my Battletech figures that I brought to show off for the Army Painting Challenge. They just wanted us to bring some armies and set them up so that they would have something to show in the display cases, and then people would bring in the Army Painter Challenge did better than they thought. They had 35 armies that went, or something like that. I think it was right near 35, 33 or 35 armies that went up for consideration for the challenge. And Best in Show won $1,000, which is pretty cool. So that Army Painter Challenge, I think, is at Nova is going to get bigger next year. Because it was a little bit last minute this year, so there wasn't as much like marketing push for it and everything like that. But yeah. Anyway, display boards. I don't really like making them. Like, it's cool that people do it, but for me, I'm just like, ugh, I don't know. I thought mine turned out kind of bad too. So, just getting ready to start 5 Parsecs, my first miniature agnostic game. Any recommendations for miniatures, preferably in Europe? Probably one of your best bets for miniatures, I think, and technically they're UK, so there's that, but you might be able to find them relatively okay. Stargrave miniatures, Stargrave plastics, made by North Star Military Figures, I believe is the full name of the company. But yeah, the Stargrave miniatures, which you can get in a lot of shops and stuff like that too, are really, really good for that. They make troopers and scavengers and crew and mercenaries and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I would definitely look at the Stargrave miniatures. They're really nice, and they're very modular, and you can put them together however you want and do a lot of neat stuff. Let's see here. Have you ever played Urban War, Void, Metropolis, etc.? I think I've heard of Urban War, but I've never played it. Play solo games as timing with gaming friends doesn't work out all the time. Yeah, that's true. It's true. The Turbo Dork Thinning Medium is supposed to be really good. I'm trying it soon. Interesting. Cat. Yeah, now she's over there. She's getting comfortable. We've got a big, fluffy, round, donut-shaped kind of cat bed thing that's very floofy, and she likes it, and it's in the window. But now she's going over there. Plastic Stargrave kits should be available in Europe and work for 5 Parsecs. Yep, see? We're thinking the same. Maladum, fantasy version of Core Space. I'll have to look into that. I haven't heard of it. Greetings from Winnipeg. First time joining live. Are Trench Crusade minis only available by 3D printing? So currently, yes. Now you can buy the STLs online if you either have a 3D printer or you have a friend with a 3D printer who would, you could pay to 3D print some stuff. But they will also be available as print on demand, meaning you'll be able to go to a company like Only Games and say, hey, I want to buy this and this and this, and they will 3D print them and send them to you. This will cost more than the STLs, of course, but that's just the way it works. At some point, will they go into making plastics or resins or something like that you could like buy in a store or at least buy online and not have to 3D print? Maybe, because it went so much bigger than they had planned. Like their original plan, from what I understand, was we're going to make this game. We're going to pay these people to make all of these cool sculpts for STLs, and we're going to sell the STLs, but also sell them as physical models through an STL printing company like Only Games and etc. I'm sure they didn't even plan on making $1 million. And then it's gone so big that I don't know. There's a part of me that goes, if it was me, I'd be like, hey, cool, look at all this extra money. Neat. You fulfill all the things you need to fulfill with the kill team, or it's not the kill team, Jesus, the Kickstarter. You fulfill all the extra stuff. I was looking at the screen and saw the word kill team. You fulfill all the stuff you need to fulfill the Kickstarter, and then you maybe make add on some new rules, or you add some new factions down the road, but you don't need to go ahead necessarily and make a whole new big company and do all that kind of stuff. I feel like they're probably going to try to turn it into like an actual like going concern, you know what I mean? Like an actual company kind of thing. And so I don't know who they would reach out to, but they might reach out to somebody about trying to do plastics down the road. The thing is, because a lot of people were like, well, when the Kickstarter went really big, people were like, why didn't they just go straight to plastics and skip these STLs? Well, because the STLs were already done and paid for. People who like that Kickstarter ended, I think, in the end of November, and before the end of December, people who backed it at a STL level already had their STLs. So they were very, very fast, about getting that stuff out there. So that's cool. I appreciate that. And they're already starting to ship the print on demand stuff. And if you didn't back the Kickstarter, you can buy the STLs now on My Mini Factory, but you can't buy the pre-printed stuff yet, but that will come soon as well. I think they probably want to make sure that everybody who did the physical minis through the Kickstarter gets their Kickstarter physical minis before they make it available to regular public, which makes sense. But if they would have decided, look how much money we made, let's just go straight to plastics, then nobody would have gotten jack for probably at least a year, maybe longer, because plastics can take a good long time to do. So yeah, we'll see. Let's see here. Solo gaming is almost all I do. Don't Look Back, Violent Dark, and getting into Hametsu. Are all those from Black Site Studios? I know that Don't Look Back and Hametsu are. Yeah, well, you're obviously a big fan of Black Site Studios. I should have read the rest of the sentence. I emailed GW last year to ask for Warcar rules and clarification for the revised Seraphon from their last refresh. No joy, which doesn't bode well. Yeah. Cleaning up some Station Forge 3D resin prints I picked up to try out some what the game Space Gets. I've been hearing about Space Gets, yeah. They look sweet and the game looks like a blast. Let's see. Love one-page rules, but seeing them have games with 5 pages is like seeing stuff for over $1 at the dollar store. Well, I mean, so they have the one-page rules are predominantly one piece of paper. Like they do have a version, I think, of like Grimdark Future that is just front and back one piece of paper. So that's the one page, I guess. But then they have the advanced rules, which are like 35 or 40 pages, and they cost $5. Those are in my opinion, the better rules. But there are still technically one-page rules out there, Let's see here. Came out last November, Into the Unknown. Really? Wow. Okay. I'll have to look online. I haven't been able to find it anywhere. I looked around. I thought it was like the later part of the year. I was looking around online. I thought they were still like, oh, it's still coming. Most of my locals are board gamers, so the majority of my play is solo. I lean narrative all anyways, so that's fine. Working on Rangers of Shadow Deep Crew is my next project. Nice. I liked Dice Check, RIP. Their games were live played, but kind of a battle report. I guess I'm not familiar with them. Molly says that Moonstone is resin. I kind of thought so. Hoping to make it to my first Adepticon this year. Been watching you for years, but I've gotten more into the hobby over the last year. Hope to see you around. I'll be at Adepticon. I will probably be in the Army Painter booth, not all the time, but a good at certain different times during the vendor hall opening. Otherwise, I'll be walking around doing stuff and stuff like that. So that's good. Can someone tell me what the heck happened with Rivenstone? Some other company picked them up, and I forget who. And then released a bunch of STLs. I'm sure I'll never get any of my stuff, but maybe I will. But I did technically, they sent me an email and they're like, here's the STLs, the stuff you ordered, I guess. And I was like, cool, I guess. To be fair, there's a couple of models that in that, what was it? Is it called the Risen? It's basically the Undead faction. There's some models in there that I kind of want anyway, so maybe I'll just have my friend Dave print them, but I haven't, yeah, it was just bad. It's one of those companies that keeps doing Kickstarters. There needs to be a name for it. It's not a Ponzi scheme. It's not a pyramid scheme or anything like that, but it's a little bit like a Ponzi scheme in that you get people to invest, and then you take some of that money to buy Bentleys and stuff. And then you have to get more people to invest so you can pay the first people to go, look at these dividends you're getting. And they're like, oh my God, these dividends are amazing. And then the next people are like, wow, those guys got good dividends. And then you're just constantly on this cycle of like, I need more money from these people to give to these people so that we can continue to get more people. And then, and there are companies out there once in a while that do Kickstarters where they're like, I had to do this Kickstarter to pay for the stuff that we did for the last Kickstarter, because the first Kickstarter, we just took all that money and spent it on, I don't know, business or food or whatever. And they just keep making Kickstarters to basically pay for the last Kickstarter. And then eventually it all falls apart and then nobody gets anything. And that's a bummer. So I don't know. I don't know if that's what happened with Rivenstone or not, but I do know that literally within the last hour of the Kickstarter, I was like, all right, fine. And I ordered it and I shouldn't have, but yeah. Let's see here. If you get a chance at Adepticon, talk to Peachy about his BR process. BR. Battle Report? Is that what BR is? Otherwise, Battle Royale. He does some real bangers. Might be more work than you want to do for a weekly vid. That's always a kind of an issue, too, is it's always trying to balance it on, like, there's a potential that I could spend the time over, I could be doing my weekly videos, but then like take 3 weeks to make a battle report and then have that but I'd have to be working on I'd be working in parallel a lot. So there's some of that too, but yeah, I definitely want to have a conversation with him about it. Don't forget to change your Twitter icon to a butterfly. I haven't done that. That's a good point though. I should. I did change the header thing in my Twitter, like when you go to the Twitter page up at the header, I did make it a blue sky, and then I said, go find me on Blue Sky or whatever, but I haven't I should do that too. That's a good point. Chronic Toast, how you doing? Still waiting for Catalyst Games to send me my BattleTech minis, and I was part of their initial backing. I need to learn patience. I've been seeing a lot of the mercenary stuff from that one. I've been seeing a lot of that stuff in stores. So love solo games, and 5 Parsecs is my favorite. I like 5 Parsecs is really good, especially if you're playing like multiple, like if you're doing like a campaign where you're doing a lot of different series and stuff like that. I've also been enjoying though just sort of screwing around with the solo rules for Space Weirdos, which I happen to have here on my desk. I don't have the solo rules here, but I have the this thing, and yeah, I think that's very cool. I wonder if I should reach out to Casey and see if he's going to be at Adepticon. I mean, it's even closer to him now. Like it's another hour closer because Casey, from what I know, lives in Minnesota somewhere, maybe Minneapolis, but maybe not. And so he's never come to Adepticon, and when it was down in near Chicago. And now that it's even closer to him, I'm hoping he comes eventually. The local game store I work at, Cataclysm Games, is definitely an anomaly as we have 23-ish employees, but we also have a huge online presence. Yeah, that's like there are definitely stores out there that can get massive like that, but there's also, yeah, the majority of gaming stores are a one-person concern. Lords of War channel just had a YouTube video about how event days in retail, they own a shop, are extra work and rarely profitable, hard to do for little return. Yeah, that is the thing too. Like, sure, maybe you have an event and you charge for it, and the idea is to get people in the store because maybe they'll buy something on the way through the store or whatever. And I think good people do, especially if it's not something like if you have to pay to be in the event, well, then that in my mind is like, oh, I paid to be in the event, so I don't need to buy anything. But if you just like come to the local store and you sit there all day and play a game with your friend or whatever, I always feel like I got to buy something before I leave. I'm not just going to come in there and play a bunch of games. And the thing is, there are people that, and I've seen these people that will come into a store and just breathe their air and play all day with stuff they bought online, stuff they didn't buy from the store, they like never buy from the store, and then and they think that they're being like, super helpful dudes by coming into the store. But like, well, look, see, now people come in and they see me playing, and now they're going to buy stuff, and they're like, not necessarily, probably unlikely. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Stores are in a rough place, man. It's yeah, I don't know, especially post pandemic. Like the pandemic was good for some stores because people were coming in and like buying things or curbside pickup or whatever. You remember all that kind of stuff. And there were a lot of stores that were doing really good numbers because people were like, I got no place to go, so I'll just come in and buy stuff and paint my armies and go at home and things like that. And now a lot of those stores are obviously kind of going back down and correcting and going back to normal sales. But a lot of the stores are finding that people aren't coming in necessarily to hang out and play. And there is some benefit to it. But I I don't know. I've the Lords of War channel, I've watched some of their videos, but I haven't in a while. So I should maybe look at that one. But they are, yeah, it's very little return, especially up front for, in many situations, a lot of work. Great to catch this live. Our town only has about 10,000 people, and the LGS shut down with COVID. I have to think about solo play all the time. Yeah, yeah. Solo play is great. Currently playing Rangers of Shadow Deep solo. It's one of the OG classics. Also enjoy D&D BX. I'm not sure I'm familiar with BX. I met John Kovalik at Gen Con in the 90s. Nice guy. I've always heard nice guy, yeah. In a pinch, you can use Rust-Oleum to prime miniatures. Can you use Rust-Oleum to prime miniatures? I'm still afraid to do that. It's just my hobby brain saying I need GW spray. You don't need GW spray. That being said, um, like just regular old black spray paint, not necessarily great because it doesn't, in my opinion, have the right amount of tooth, which is the kind of like texture that it leaves. You want to have, if you try to prime with like a glossy black spray paint, the paint won't stick to it. It'll like bead up and it sucks. So you need to have something that's a little bit closer to matte, and almost all primers are generally more of a matte finish. Um, the stuff that I like to use, the Rust-Oleum like camo or the Krylon camo, those are technically not primers, but because it's camo spray paint, it's super matte, which then kind of acts a little bit more. It gives you a much more of a tooth for it to like hold on to the paint that you put over it as you start to paint the thing. So I've been using the camo spray paints from Krylon, but also Rust-Oleum because sometimes the Krylon stuff's hard to find. But I've been using those for, gosh, I made a video about the Krylon camouflage spray paints. It was my first ever review, and this was gotta been 10, 11 years ago. So I've been using them for a long time. Shadow Deep scenarios are pretty fun. It's my first skirmish experience. Luckily, I had almost all the minis terrain I needed, but I do enjoy crafting terrain too. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Um, Come on. Anyone tried acetone and silicone for selling MDF? Probably you mean sealing MDF? Not acetone. No, that sounds like a terrible idea. And silicone also sounds like if you're going to seal MDF, at least just either use a little bit of Mod Podge or like some PVA glue and water. But like I said, that Rust-Oleum enamel black primer stuff actually works quite well. That's what the guys from Death Ray Designs told me to use, and they produce a lot of, MDF. Speaking of 40K, I just came across an artist, Adam Hwenke? I think I mispronounced that, who did the Golden Girls as a rep. I think I saw a picture of models. It was like, yeah, they were all, it was 4 Space Marines in power armor, but they were wearing, but they had Golden Girls heads. Yeah. Curious to which you think is better for line of sight, center to center measuring or the cone system like Kill Team uses. I don't know. I kind of like just regular true line of sight in many situations. Although the base can help you for whether you decide whether or not there's cover or you just give cover a lot. That helps a lot too. Stargrave and Frostgrade plastic are perfect for kit bashing each other. Absolutely, yeah. Maladum / Core Space are packaged as board games, which is why you may not have been aware. Yeah, I've heard of Core Space, but I don't know about Maladum. I'm super addicted to buying North Star plastic kits. Yeah, I got a lot of them too. Have tons of Frostgrave, Stargrave, and Oathmark kits, and they all go together super well for kit bashing. Yeah, they really are. Hooray for solo, indeed. What's a good solo game in the fantasy genre? Rangers of Shadow Deep is a great one. I like to think that Death Wizards is also a good one. I have a copy of it right here. Yes, I do. This one, by the way, is made by Vince and I, so just FYI, so you know. But you can get it through Wargame Vault, or you can just go to snarlingbadger.com and you'll find it there as well. Let's see. I think Sword Weirdos has a solo version as well if you want to go down that road. So there's that too for an inexpensive one. I mean, not that ours is Death Wizards is like $18 plus shipping. So, Pulp Alley has a great solo set. No, I had no idea. I didn't know Pulp Alley had solo. That's cool. Catch You Monday, absolutely, Terrence. Rangers of Shadow Deep has been mentioned. Yep. Cell Swords and Spell Slingers. That's hard to say. I enjoy more than ROSOD. Really? Huh. Strange Plastic is the company that picked up Rivenstone. Yes. Initially, I just assumed it was going to be Steamforge games because they're kind of just picking up stuff that's falling apart lately. But no, yeah, you're right. Strange Plastic, which I'd never heard of. So, speaking of STLs, Privateer Press have announced that they are going to be doing STLs and PDFs of Monpok stuff for all of us backers that got ripped off by Mythic. Well, that's nice of them. It's nice of them to do. Gridrunner is definitely Titanforge games and definitely solo playable. That's cool. Shout out to the Beyond the Gates of Antares range from Warlord Games. Great minis, and you can usually find them cheap. Great for agnostic games. Because that game's not made anymore, is it? I love Wormwood Gaming stuff, but they operate on that Kickstarter model. Yeah, there's a lot of companies that do. Cool Mini or Not is another one. Yep. Now, I don't know that Cool Mini or Not is doing it because they have to. I don't know that they're like, well, gosh, we got to do another Kickstarter to pay for the last Kickstarter. I feel like they've got their stuff a little bit more, their ducks a little bit more in a row. I could be wrong, though. Wormwood, I don't know. I don't know jack about Wormwood other than they do have a YouTube channel and there has been controversy. But other than that, or controversy. Controversy? Is that what you guys say over in the UK? But yeah, I don't know. Pishi's battle reports are nothing short of fantastic. Nice. Strange Plastic in December. For physical models, we have all of the COcast molds that were made and have gone through them. Maybe 60% of the total molds needed. That's a bummer. Also, about 40% of the casting was already completed by Broken Anvil. What yet isn't molded or cast will still most likely be filled with high-end 3D prints when we get there. Catalyst kind of drives me crazy with how they do their releases. Battletech folks. Yes. Wish they would just invest in a better distribution model and keep things available instead of relying on Kickstarter so much. Yeah, they're a big enough company that you wouldn't think they need to do that, but I bet that it makes them more money than just releasing stuff normally. I don't know why, I think it's just people get caught up into the like, well, if I do this Kickstarter, I'm going to get all this stuff. And then, 2 years later, you finally get all this stuff and you're like, oh, good Lord, I got too much stuff. And that seems to happen quite frequently. So many people have asked Vince and I, well, why didn't you guys do a Kickstarter? Because we didn't want to, strangely enough. Just finished a batch of 4 mechs. Nice. Just got to clear coat them in a couple hours. Very cool. Also relied on Alliance for sustainment of product, and that company is going under. I mean, I think they got picked up by somebody else, but the company that owned Alliance is definitely filed for Chapter 11. Diamond Comic Distribution, I think, owned Alliance, but I think Alliance is actually getting bought by somebody else now. I don't know, something like. I swear I saw some sort of article about that. It's like going to a cigar bar with your own cigars. Bad patrons. I agree. I agree. Still want to support my local store. I grew up there. I know the owners and try my best to support them. They also sell comics. They've been treated horribly. Yeah. Wildspire picked up production rights for all of the miniatures for the failed Lasting Tales Kickstarter. I haven't heard of that one. Sometimes cheap prices on games at Amazon and such just means you pay more with your soul. Yeah, I mean, like the local shop that I like to go to, which is the one-man operation, he's getting out of board games mostly completely because the board gamers in our area just don't buy at stores. They just go, well, it's cheaper to buy online, and they just buy online. But they'll sometimes come into the stores to play. And he's like, so they'll bring in a game, a board game that they bought on Amazon or something like that, and then want to play in his store. And he's like, I mean, at least sometimes they buy snacks. I guess there's that, but that's, he's not necessarily a snack store. He's a game store, as it turns out. I got plenty of Battletech to plow through, so not seeing the mercenary stuff yet doesn't bother me that much. I can understand that. Mark Latham, who designed the Walking Dead miniature game and Elder Scrolls Call to Arms game, also worked on Lasting Tales. Huh. Hopefully Army Painter will make time to get you over for UK Games Expo or Salute sometime. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it was, I don't know. I could see them being like, well, we got Peachy, so we'll just have him, Peachy go to UKGE or Salute because it's a lot easier. But yet, Peachy's coming over to Adepticon, but Adepticon's like a big deal and it's the whole thing. So I don't know. That's a good question. I wouldn't mind going to one of those. My wife and I were going to go to, we had plans to go to take an anniversary trip and go to the UK. And we were going to go in the fall of 2020. And then that did not work out. So, yeah, we really probably ought to try to figure out a way to reschedule that. We used Rust-Oleum in the 90s, but definitely matte black primer, Rust-Oleum / Krylon. Yep. When buying non-hobby spray primers, always look for the cans that say flat on it. Yeah, you definitely want that. I'd rather play a video game if I'm solo. Gaming is a social experience for me. And for a lot of people, like I said, it can be, but there's also a lot of people who are painting miniatures and we're like, well, I want to use them for at least something. So solo gaming, I think, can be a definite benefit in that situation. And like I said, for me, trying to make content out of it, I could see making a lot more sense too, which is why I've been looking in that direction to some degree as well. I still want to try to do a battle report at some point with Sam and stuff like that, and maybe even maybe even convince my wife. We'll see how that goes. But it's a concern in that, again, like I said, I don't want to waste people's time. I'll waste my own time, but I don't want to waste people's time. My local store just opened a 4th location. Wow, that's crazy. But I also live near Boston, so it is highly populated, an affluent area. Besides those stores, there are 5 other SLGSs. The only store I know from near Boston is Alpha Omega. I know Jake from Alpha Omega. It's so cold where I live that anytime I use rattle can, I always have to deal with annoying frosting. And yeah, a lot of people online will be like, oh, you can totally rattle can in the middle of winter out there in the, negative 15 or whatever. And technically, yes, you can. You can warm the can up and you can spray. But then when the stuff when it's time for it to dry and outgas, you then have to bring it in the house, which then kind of, defeats the purpose, I guess, of rattle canning outside, because now you're stinking up your house with that, unless you've got like a really good like bathroom vent or something like that. Because if you just decide, well, I've sprayed outside, now I'll leave the model out here in the garage, let's say, and let it, it will take forever to dry because paint takes longer to dry when it's cold. And also, in many situations, what I've seen is you get what looks like an orange peel type of kind of surface, where instead of bumps, you get like little pits, and it just gets all reverse bumpy, basically, all over the place. And that's what the people who usually are like, oh, you can totally rattle can out in the winter. Those people are never mentioning that part, because yeah, if you leave it outside, you will be sad. So you're spraying outside and then bringing it in the house, where it's going to stink up the house anyway and make your family and cats and whatever sad. And so yeah, that's why I don't like to do it. Let's see. Working on Darth Vader from Shatterpoint. Ooh. Some companies just use Kickstarter or some sort of crowdfunding, even if they have to cash the product, because why use your own money to pay for a new product when your customers will? Yes. Also, some companies just look at it as basically like a special marketing thing. When like something new comes out, a company that talks about new stuff will be like, hey, look, a new thing came out. Whereas if they're like, oh, the Kickstarter, it's 300% over their goal or whatever, then that seems more newsy than just like, hey, this game came out. So there's a marketing kind of benefit in some situations to it. For some folks, I was like, meh. Just finished building Aegis defense line. That is a giant pile of plastic. Indeed, indeed. Thanks for another 2 hours of great hobby conversation. Well, I hope it was at least good enough. But thank you very much for coming by to hang out. It's 11 o'clock in the morning here in my neck of the woods. And it is about time. It's time for me to go. I've got, let's see. I've got to go over to the in-laws for lunch. And then I've got some stuff I need to work on for me and Vince. And then Vince and I have a meeting tonight. And yeah. Got things I got to get rid of, or not get rid of, get taken care of is what I got to get done. So I was kind of hoping to spend some time actually on the couch, maybe just playing a little bit of Cyberpunk 2077. I haven't played in a week, so hopefully I'll try to sneak some of that in there as well, but we'll see how it goes. But nonetheless, thanks to everybody for coming by tonight, this afternoon, or this morning, depending on where you live. And I hope you have yourselves a good rest of your day. And I'll be streaming tomorrow on Twitch at 7 p.m. Central Time. So if you're interested, it's twitch.tv/tabletopminions. Go over there, give a follow if you're interested and want to get announcements, and they'll let you know. But I usually stream Monday nights and Friday mornings, usually about 3 hours. So have yourselves a good day. Thanks for coming by and hanging out and chatting and all that kind of stuff. And if you're interested, take a look at, some solo games maybe. Especially if you're having a hard time finding people to play with. Solo games can kind of help along with that. And there's a bunch of them out there, so take a look at those. So that's pretty much about it. Again, stay safe, and thanks for watching.